All right, here we are, live at Celtics draft. I can't believe it. I lost my freaking selfie stick thing. I'm John Corrales, Tom Westerholm. We're here. It's like a wobbly live thing. This is the Celtics practice facility, which also serves as their draft headquarters. The NBA draft is going on. We are midway through the second round. The Celtics have made all but one of their picks. So we've got Romeo Langford. We've got Grant Williams and Carson Edwards. Thank you. So 3 picks, a trade which sent Aron Baynes to Phoenix. Aron Baynes 24 to Phoenix, apparently for the Milwaukee Bucks pick that Phoenix owned from in the next draft. That's top 6 protected. If it doesn't convey for some reason, things have gone horribly wrong for the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Celtics are probably going to get a late round pick next year.
A deep draft.
Aron Baynes is going to get bought out. So thanks for everything, Aron Baynes. So let's start with the picks. You're the draft guy here. So what's your analysis of the 2 guys that the Celtics got in the first round?
So Langford is an interesting guy. He's very versatile, very smooth type of player. He did not shoot the ball well at all at Indiana. He actually shot 27% from 3, which is obviously just a brutal number. But he's going to be a pretty intriguing guy. He had issues with his thumb, and that he ended up having to get worked on. He basically had to. Somebody saying hello to Jay, who is not here.
Jay's not here. He's like way down there. But I'll yell to him later. But he had surgery on that thumb.
He had surgery on the thumb. He's had some issues with that. That being said, I think he's going to be a really intriguing piece for the Celtics. I think that he can really score in ways besides just shooting. So, I mean, I think he's the type of guy where if he gets a shot, if he kind of hits, 35, 36% of his threes, he's going to be really tough to stop because he can handle the ball. He can attack seams. He does get to the free throw line a lot, which is something the Celtics really needed last year. So I think there's a path for him to contribute pretty quickly, and I think that especially when you start to look at some of the length in the Celtics lineup with some of this youth, I mean, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, these are guys who are young, who are talented, who are athletic, and who are pretty long, and you throw Langford into that, that's another guy who can do a lot of things, which will be pretty intriguing.
Yeah, and it seems like the Celtics went after guys that can get to the line. All 3 of their picks were guys that get to the line on a regular basis. After last year, that being a big storyline for the Celtics, they got 3 guys that if they all contribute in any way this year, it'll be partly because they can get to that free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, we can have that lead us into the second guy that they took, Grant Williams. He's another guy, like John said, he gets to the line. He's a very big, aggressive guy. He plays really hard, very, very, very smart. I think that's going to be one of the things that really translates in his game is, he's got a great IQ. He really knows how to play defense. He knows how to play offense. He really knows how to pass. He's a great passer for a big man. So I think that he's another guy he's probably going to be able to contribute immediately. I mean, I think one of the nice things about Grant Williams is that there is just there's almost no bust potential. Like that guy is going to be an NBA player for a long time. I think his shot is going to eventually translate. He's going to be able to space the floor, and he can post up. He can hit mid-range jumpers. He can pick and pop. He can pick and roll. And then defensively, he can guard a lot of different positions, and that's something that Brad talked about.
Yeah, Brad called him a guy with a point guard's mind. My question for you now is, with him, is he big enough to do some of the things that he did in college in the pros? 6'7". He plays a lot with the back to the basket, but doesn't have that explosiveness really.
Right.
Doesn't have that length. Can he still post guys up
Yep.
in the NBA, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to the basket, I mean, that's never been like a Celtics focus necessarily, is like getting immediately to that. But I think that he's strong enough that he'll be able to do some of that. Certainly, I think that he'll be able to pin some guys behind him, and I mean, he's only going to get stronger. I think that it was Sam Vicente at the Athletic had him as like the 96th percentile among all prospects in terms of strength at the facility that he worked out. I mean, this guy is very, very strong. Built like a truck. He's got some real potential to be a to be a guy who can do a lot of different things, and I do think the strength is going to help him a lot. He's a little bit longer than you might get credit for. I think he's 6'7" with a 6'11" wingspan. So I mean that's perfectly acceptable. It's not like he's not Mo Bamba, but he's also, it's not like he's Tyler Hero either.
Right. So, so it seems like a pretty Danny Ainge draft. You get a wing that can't shoot. You get a big who, there's questions about, can he do the same things in the NBA? And then with the third pick, they get an undersized point guard. Danny Ainge seems to love these undersized point guards in Carson Edwards, but he's an explosive guy. He can score. He can shoot. He can come off the dribble and hit shots. But we know with second round picks, they're hit or miss. What's your projection for Carson Edwards in the NBA?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be able to contribute as like a guard off the bench. He's obviously. I don't think that you're drafting him thinking like, hey, this is the replacement. This is like the replacement for Kyrie Irving. You're not thinking that, but he has deep 3-point range. He can hit it off the dribble. He can hit it out of the pick and roll. He's not. He's not necessarily a facilitator. Like, I wouldn't look at him as necessarily a point guard. I would look at him as a scoring guard who can handle the ball. And, maybe you play him. I think there's ways to play him. You play him next to Jaylen Brown. You play him next to, or not just, you play him next to Marcus Smart. You play him next to Gordon Hayward. You play him next to guys who can handle the ball, in spurts. They can sort of handle that stuff. So, I think it's a good pick. I think that especially around the early 30s, you're not risking much. It's not like you're, taking yourself out of contention for somebody else. So get a bench guard, get a guy who can fill it up a little bit. And I mean, listen, let's see what Brad can do with another undersized, pretty athletic guy who can get buckets. Like he's proven that he can do some stuff with guys like that.
So the Celtics also traded one of those picks. Like I said, they made the 14th pick. 20 became 24 and 33. They traded 24, and they kept 22. So 24th pick, Aron Baynes going out. So now cap-wise, I didn't crunch the numbers, but with Aron Baynes going out and then making 2 picks, they could theoretically, if they renounce everybody, have a max cap spot because having 2 of the 3, all they needed to get rid of was 1.
Yeah.
And if they renounce everybody, if that's what they decide to do, they could open up $32 million in cap space. What they do with that, I don't know. I don't think they're going to go get a max free agent, but that cap space.
Kyrie Irving's
I feel like having that cap space is valuable. One of the questions that I was getting on Twitter was, why bother with opening up all this cap space? What are you going to do? Just because you hear max cap slot doesn't mean that they're going to go get a max guy. You can make aggressive pitches to restricted free agents. If you like Malcolm Brogdon, that's an option. If you want to get somebody like a Satoransky away from Washington, I mean, that's a guy you can go make an aggressive pitch for and sign him and still have cap space left over. I think one of the things the Celtics can do is be a team that for a year at least takes in a bad contract, an expiring contract, and also picks up an extra draft pick. I know Danny Ainge is getting some grief for accumulating assets and not using them, but he's good at accumulating the assets, and we'll see what he does, and maybe eventually he uses that cap space.
Yeah.
Maybe the next swing is Giannis Antetokounmpo in a couple of years. A guy that they'll be rumored for and not get.
Those rumors are probably coming. So we could answer a couple of questions real quick. I think we're kind of waiting right now.
Yeah, let's see.
We got this. Do we think Terry is in Boston next year? My best guess would be no. I think that they could use the cap space. Obviously, this is just guessing. My guess would be no for the cap space reasons, and I think that they have a starting point guard in Marcus Smart. I think personally, I think they would rather probably see what they have there.
And they might have been gone for best player available, but they got a guard, they got another wing, and they have the space. I don't know who else they're gonna maybe target, but my guess is no on Rozier. Let's see. Michael Coffey, I'd like to see them renounce Rozier and sign Julius Randle for a 4-year deal. Try to get Holiday from the Pelicans for our own pick. I don't think Drew Holiday is really in the timeline.
I don't think he's very super available either. Oh, okay. So the Celtics, we have Woj right now saying they're going to select Tremont Waters from LSU. Real quick analysis, just a super solid point guard. He's worked out for the Celtics twice. He was probably the best player on LSU last year, which LSU was not particularly, dangerous, but he can shoot a little bit, he can score a little bit, he can handle. He'll just be kind of like a solid guy in the NBA. And again, kind of continuing on the theme of I don't know for sure what they're going to do with Rozier, if they're going to bring him back. Yet another point guard. So I mean, we'll see.
Another point guard. Also on the Julius Randle thing, I can get the Julius Randle. I get why people want to try him out. I don't mind trying him out. I'm not ready to give him 4 years. I can see maybe taking a flyer on 2. My feeling on Randle is he took advantage of a situation in New Orleans. They were they had that obvious mess going on with the Anthony Davis trade. He went and got his numbers. I don't think he was playing any real defense. I want to see him do this on a team with structure that where he can prove that he can keep doing this. So Julius Randle, sure, but I'm not doing 4 years for Randle. I'm doing 2 at the most. And I don't know if that gets him because somebody might give him more.
It's true. I think there's one real danger in committing all of your long-term money, like your long-term kind of space, a little too early. Like, I think that there's a lot of value in sort of like see how the season goes,
right.
See what you actually need. Maybe you don't need a Randle. Maybe maybe Williams is your starting 4 of the future.
There you go.
And maybe you don't go out and sign a center because maybe Robert Williams is a starter. Like, you don't know. And if you go out and throw a ton of money at a guy for the next 4 years, you're locked into that guy, and maybe you're taking minutes away from somebody else who can help.
Yep.
And then 2 years down the line, maybe that space eats into somebody that you would actually like to sign. So
Yep.
I think, we could probably call it, right? That's all the picks are in.
All the picks are in. So Waters is the final pick for the Celtics. Let's see, any other things here? No, that's the the Grant Williams, people bringing up the Grant Williams the earth is not flat video. His mom won't pronounce it, right?
I believe his father did. One of his parents.
One of his parents is an actual scientist that can prove that the earth is actually not flat. All right, well, I guess on that note, let's wrap up this thing here. So the Celtics making 4 picks, 2 in the first round, 2 in the second. No guarantees on the second round picks, but one thing that does happen if they don't stick around with the big club is they can be waived and stashed in the G League if that's something that everybody's agreeable to. But that's a long ways off. All we know is that these guys are all probably going to be playing in Vegas. We're both going to be in Vegas for Summer League, so we'll keep you updated on that. In the meantime, thanks for reading our stuff, masslive.com/Celtics. Tons and tons and tons of stuff on there. So much stuff on there. But we appreciate you doing that. And obviously following us on Twitter at Tom_NBA, and I'm at RedsArmy_John.